Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is the Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. Let the games begin. This is Motorsport Manager. We are in episode number 6. This is the final race of the first season down in GP3. We will not be promoted this season, but things are looking nice right now as I am pitting from the front of the field. It's lap number 10. I was running second. The car that was running first a moment ago, they pit ahead of me, but we were off to an excellent start in this particular race as we were performing well above expectations. We finished that first round of pit stops, and Gomez hangs on in third place, and Alessi, the only car left to pit, will be coming in this time around. So as we cycle through, we'll actually remain in that second place position through the first round of pit stops. So we actually have a chance at a decent finish today. Though you can see there's a group of 5 cars just behind us. However, they're all on the medium tire, and they've all been on that tire a bit longer than I have. So we have a good chance at, I don't know if we'll hang on for a podium finish, but at least top 10 finish today for Gomez if they continue to run strong. Between Gomez and Anthony, there has been virtually zero difference. Anthony pit 1 lap before Gomez, and there was only a couple positions between them, but in coming out of those pit stops without any mistakes being made, Anthony dropped back even further. That's how close this field is right now, as we are second and 15th, only 10 seconds, now 12 seconds between the drivers. So Anthony's having a bit of a bad time today. Back in 14th, a ways up to 13th, a few cars just behind, and Anthony looking like they might slip back a bit further here in the near future. But we're going to go ahead and return our focus to Gomez, as Anthony does slip a spot to 15th. But Gomez hanging on well, second place. Good performance on the day so far. And this is a little bit of a shorter race with just 23 laps, so I really would not expect any of the drivers to be having to make 3 pit stops today. So we're pretty much set on a 2-stop day for virtually everyone. Now we have 11 laps left to go in the race. I would consider trying to stretch the fuel all the way to the end, but with just 8 laps of fuel left and 11 laps to go, I don't think we could quite stretch it that way, and that might slow us down enough to not make it worth our while. So we'll take our 1 pit stop along with everyone else and push to the end on a fresh set of soft tires. And it looks like we might just still be at least in the top 3 by the time that comes around. Only 1 car has remained within chasing distance, as the rest are slipping back as we're running pretty strong on our soft tires. One thing we have going for us this race is that Gomez, we were not able during the practice session to get the full 30% bonus of 15% for soft and 15% for the overall race bonus. We were actually only able to get to level 2 on that race trim and on those soft tires because we had to take additional pit stops in order to get the settings for the car. The balance was just not right, and as we were approaching the final couple minutes of the session, we were still in the 70% range on Gomez's car. It looks like we did get that balance right, though. Otherwise, we would not be sitting in second place now. There was actually still a little bit of mystery to that. Looks like Anthony just dropped 1 more place and is now in 16th. Gomez's tires just about getting hot there, so we're going to have to back off a little bit. This might give a chance for these two cars behind us, these two teammates, Boccolacci and Alessi, to gain some ground on us. But again, their tires are a bit more worn than ours are at this point, so we might not have that difficult of a time trying to hold those two off. Of course, cream always rises to the top. Faster cars will make up some ground on us, even with medium tires, especially as ours wear down a bit and get a little bit slower. Meanwhile, Anthony has some additional troubles today to face. We had an event pop up in between our last race, race 7, and now the final race of the season, in which we had an engine that we were pushed for a $500,000 fix or a 50% drop in reliability. Luckily, it was up near 90% in reliability already, so it only dropped us into the 30 range and not dropping us down to, like, say 10 or 15%. But we were only able to, in the week between that event and the start of this race, we were only able to recover some of that. It actually wasn't Anthony's engine, it was actually Gomez's engine. But I went ahead and ran a swap on them, as Gomez has a somewhat stronger car, as we're trying to push for those individual points. Not that I have any preference of Gomez over Anthony, but the way the point structure works in here, the team balance isn't going to help, and our team is so weak that trying to keep both cars strong does very little for this team. We really need to do what we can to get one strong car out there whenever possible. So Gomez has been the one as car number 1 and the slightly stronger driver that has benefited from that throughout this season. I don't completely ignore the second car, but I definitely do try to make one car as strong as possible to help the overall team. And it's really showing in this race, unlike at any other point this season. The form is showing. There was a few seconds, thanks to the pit stop strategy and the bonus for Gomez, that is a pit stop bonus. So we did save a couple of seconds on the pit stop. However, there's a 17-second gap between these two drivers, and there was no mistake in the pit. So about 14 seconds on the track is the difference today, while in the last race, they ran nose to tail throughout. Alright, looking at tire wear, both cars are holding up fairly well. Gomez does look in danger of losing a spot to Alessi and Boccolacci and possibly Schumacher and Lorandi, who aren't too far behind. Regardless, though, that looks like we could compete for maybe a top 6 finish today, which would be fantastic if we only lose that much ground between now and the end of the race. There's only 7 laps to go, and there is dropped to 3rd place as Alessi flies by. We are approaching our final pit stop of the day. We are now within the safe zone where we could go to the end on just this one more stop. Fuel looks like it might be the biggest factor as we go into this last one, as Faith Anthony, according to our pit stop strategy, and tire wear and everything else is kind of fitting right in where it should, and Anthony will be the first to pit. We've got 2.5 laps left of fuel at this point, but looking at the tire wear, I might just go a single more lap for Anthony before we bring Anthony in. That engine wear is concerning, so I'm not going to go for any extra fuel burn, but I am planning to bring Anthony in the next lap or so. So Gomez is in 3rd, but about to slip to 4th. That tire wear is the big factor. Those medium tires do last a bit longer. Gomez held on well for a while, but has been slipping back. But surprisingly, Gomez was actually able to squeeze by and keep 3rd. This time I'm going to go ahead and bring in Anthony now. And there's only going to be 5 laps left to go. And there we go. That's going to be enough to get us to the end. Should be an 8-second pit stop. This is the last race of the season, so I am pushing it with the pit crew. They only have a small chance of failure, so we're going to go ahead and do our best to save any time, even for Anthony, though Gomez is definitely going to be the focus in this race. We have one car out of the race so far, but everybody else is running strong. Pit stop so far so good, and fueling is nearly done, and Anthony's heading back out on the track as a back marker, but should be strong enough to get us to the end of the race. And we'll go with that stronger strategy. So Gomez is now in second place as the front runner has pit. Alessi has moved up to take over the lead. We still have enough to get one more lap out of this car, and then we actually could push really hard toward the end and could have a pretty quick pit stop with only a handful of laps worth of fuel to go. So we're going to stay out one more lap and give it everything we've got. Alessi also stayed out. Cars behind us are pitting, so we now have room in front and behind the car. We'll see what happens as we cycle through with this final pit stop, but it should be a pretty quick one for Gomez. We are going to be coming in this time. We're going to push whatever's left in those tires. In fact, we're going to push it hard. And with only about 4 laps left, we should, with a fresh set of tires, be able to push all the way to the finish. And if we push to that, we might make it. That would give us a whole extra lap worth of fuel. We have 4 laps now. There's only going to be... we'll be at the end of the lap. We'll have 4 laps to go. This will give us 3.94. We can save that much fuel and get to the end and save another second here and have a 6-second pit stop. No, let's take the extra. I'm going to take 1 extra lap worth of fuel, and we'll be able to push it. We can make up a second on the track by running hard. And condition should be good to go. So 7-second pit stop upcoming for Gomez as long as everything goes well. We have a nice healthy gap back to 3rd place right now, but these are the final 3 cars that have not pit yet. So Gomez is currently giving it his all to see what we can do. Pace is looking good, as even though those tires are hurting, Gomez is running a nice quick pace and heading in for the final pit stop of the day, final pit stop of the season, as we are just about ready to wrap up our inaugural season. And so far so good, just a few laps worth of pit fuel to go, and Gomez is heading back out. Looks like Gomez will be in 3rd place. Excellent job by Gomez there. It looks like Alessi, after their pit stop, held on to the lead, and Hughes slipped to 2nd, pitting much sooner. We are close to 4th place, and they're going to be coming on strong for the end. We are also going to push for whatever we've got left in the tank. It looks like we have almost a full lap worth of fuel extra to burn. We're not going to go into full overtake mode though. Let's see what we can do. I don't think we're going to hang on to this podium. It looks like we're going to lose that position right now, but Gomez so far hanging on to it, and the faster car, Bocolecci, putting the pressure on, but Gomez really fighting to keep that position. Gomez is really getting after it today. Even though the form's only a 6.6, Gomez is actually looking really strong. Let's see what Gomez can do. Gomez actually pulls away strongly there, and there's now 3 laps left in the race. We have exactly 1 lap of fuel extra to burn, so we're not going to go into full overtake mode until we get to that final lap, and only if we have enough to spare. 1 lap of fuel. Gives us about a third of a lap per each actual racing lap of extra burn. So we'll see kind of where we're at the end of this lap and see if we've used up more or less of that spare lap of fuel. More or less than a third of that lap. Alright, well, Anthony, after the pit cycles have finished, Anthony is in 14th. For Anthony, that's actually not too shabby. Anthony's spare fuel is only a little bit, plus we have that condition concern when it comes to that engine, so I don't want to use up what Anthony has. But Gomez hanging on well to third place now, actually creating a bit of a gap, nearly 2 seconds back to Boccolecci, so might do just enough. In terms of fuel burn, we were well under that third of a lap spare that we could have used up per lap, so it looks like we will be able to go into overtake mode before the end of the race here. Conditions hanging on throughout, so the car's good to go. So if we have the fuel to spare, we'll go ahead and use it when the time is right. Now it looks like the field is split really into 4 chunks. Alessi, who's running away with this thing 10 seconds ahead. We are closing the gap on Hughes, while the field behind us all the way to 8th place is pretty tight. And then you have a group in 9th through 16th, plus the last couple, the last few back markers who are spread out off the back. So Anthony actually has some room to move up, possibly as high as 9th. We are now entering the final lap. We are hanging on to 3rd. This is beautiful. This would be a wonderful way to end the season. Some really solid points, some really solid money. We might be able to actually move up a couple spots in the standings. And with 1 lap to go and no condition warnings, excellent. We're going to use up what we've got. Same here. We actually have still more fuel for Gomez than we do. So Gomez looks like they might be able to hang on to 3rd today. Tire wear Boccolecci is down to nothing, so I don't think Boccolecci is going to be able to catch us. But I also don't think we're going to be able to catch Hughes, though we have slowly been closing that gap throughout. The real thing is down to what Anthony can do, which Anthony doesn't have a whole lot of fuel left, so let's not overdo it. We don't want to run out. But both cars being able to go all out to the end. Gomez finishes on the podium, our first one and only one this season. Great way to finish out the year. And here comes Anthony giving it everything they've got left. And Anthony just comes in 14th right at the end. Great finish, 3rd and 14th for the team. Some real solid points today, and that will really boost us up and give us a little bit of confidence going into next season. Sadly, though, we're going to have to bid farewell to both Gomez and Anthony, as we cannot afford to keep those 2 drivers. $500,000 per race was way beyond what we were able to bring in return through sponsorships. So we're going to have to look to replace those drivers and either just totally drop out that $500,000 a race expense and bring in those reserve $1,000 monthly contract drivers, or go out and find the cheapest but most marketable drivers, which is what we will try to do during the off season and what we're going to be taking a look at soon. Alright, well, we kept the cars clean, so no rule breaks this year. What a fantastic job. 3rd place finish on the day. 36 points earned on the race. 18 for Anthony as well. What a boost to our overall. Great to see that we were able to get a podium this year. Something to build on as we go forward. That brings Gomez all the way up to 11th place in the standings, just at that middle mark. Faith Anthony actually drops a spot despite the quality finish, as Jake Hughes was right there in second place in this race. So, real surprise finish there. But Anthony at least does end up in the mix of the points at the bottom, as things were pretty close all the way from 12th to 20th. For the team, we jump from 9th place to 6th on the final day of the season, just 1 point ahead of Dams Jr. and Arden Racing, only 6 points behind. So we were able to make that huge jump. We were pretty close to High Tech already. No, actually, High Tech was the one who was in 9th. So Carlin drops from 8th place to 10th on the final day of the season. Real blow to them. That really just has an impact on the money coming into the teams. Looks like Trident Racing will be the one moving up to the Formula 2 category. Alright, so we've reached the end of the first season. Feel real confident about the way things went. We overall came in 4th on the race. We brought our chairman's happiness all the way back up to 100%. We had a nice boost to the team marketability as well, coming up a couple percent. We still end up losing a whole bunch of money on the day. Our sponsor objective was actually only 16th place and a very, very small cash bonus for that, as our next closest was a top 4 finish. Surprisingly, we ended up with a podium finish and would have qualified for that sponsorship bonus. But throughout our performances of the season, I couldn't have expected that to be the case, and so I went for the safe option. Alright, the other championships will also soon be wrapping up. But we as a team finished the year with 149 points. Now for the Decathlon, with an objective of 1,000, that's all we were able to manage this year. So basically 15% of the overall points available. But a lot of that also comes down to the division we are racing in. There's bonuses as you get up to the Formula 1 level that make it possible to get to that 1,000, and it just cannot be done from the GP3 or, as the stock game calls it, European Racing Series. Alright, world champion from the Trident Racing scene. Racing team Alessi does end up winning the championship this year. Those were the 2 cars that I ended up spending most of the race trying to keep behind me, and I did successfully keep one of them back behind me. So our nice little bonus for driver quality, second best on the grid, is about to go away. So our last place car, our 8th place headquarters, our last place staff, and last place pit crew are now going to be joined by drivers as well. So it's going to be a real struggle next year to be competitive, but we're going to try to build up those headquarters and build up that car for the long term so that we can bring back in some quality drivers and some staff and a decent pit crew eventually, once we're in a better financial state. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do a quick interview here. Andre Gomez was beaten by Giuliani Alessi today. Would you consider bringing him in next season? I don't have 100% belief in my drivers. I'll go ahead and give that if interested. That actually didn't hurt the morale. I kind of figured it would. Oh, it did hurt Anthony's by 5%, but not a concern because the season's done. And we just gained the option to actually talk to Alessi for the next 50 weeks, so we might be able to steal that driver. But again, next season is going to be all about finances when it comes to our drivers. cheapest ones we can get our hands on that have the highest level of marketability, regardless of skill. Alright, nothing really to worry about with the pit crew, as we're not going to get into reviewing them until we actually get to next season. Car repair is finished, so we're going to take a quick look. Reset our improving of parts. We had changed our focus to try to refix this engine thanks to that surprise event. I know the season's about to end, but we'll try to improve these parts a little bit, because the parts you have now set up the parts you have for next season. Alright, so we're going into the promotion stage here. And we're going to get our prize money handed out. And let's see where we're at for the year. Alright, so prize money wise, we add $12 million to the coffers. A huge bonus for a team that is flat broke. That should be enough at least to get us one headquarters upgrade going forward. And actually, we're going to spend that money here quite soon, because I'm not too worried about the car. Worried about the long term for this team, as it's going to be a while before we get promoted. At least a couple more years. The kind of struggles we had this year make me think it's going to take at least 3, maybe 4 years before we're going to improve. Look at that, manager of the season, Decathlon Gamer of Decathlon Gamer Racing. We end up winning manager of the season in our inaugural year. Really don't think we did that much to deserve it, but maybe that podium at the end of the season was such a surprise to everyone that they decided to throw the award our way. The driver of the season goes to Bocolachi of Trident Racing, who did not win the championship but was on the Constructors Championship team. Alright, so we have some new rules for the 2017 year. The rule changes. We're going to replace the Munich GP with Rio de Janeiro. And we are switching to spec brakes, which is going to make the field a little bit closer, a little bit easier for us, as one more piece of the car is going to be generic across the board. Promotions and relegations, Trident are on their way up, and Rat Packs are coming down, so the Rat Packs team are going to replace them here in our series. And at the Formula 1 level, looks like Sauber. No surprise there, as they were backmarkers in real life as well. Sauber team drops down, and MP Motorsport is going to take their place at the Formula 1 level. Alright, well, there's going to be a lot of team changes. Obviously, we are going to be on the hunt for new drivers. And we're not going to have a huge pool to go after. We're going to be looking at these drivers. But again, it's not going to come down to quality. It's going to come down to those who can give us an improvement here. So if you look at the team marketability, it is an average of 3 things: your first and second driver and the overall team marketability. There's not anything I can do about that one except for perform well as a team and slowly build that up over time, which it actually did build this year despite our series of low performances. But if you have 2 drivers with high marketability levels, that then averaged with this actually gives the team a high marketability rating, which means where we only have 4 slots for sponsors at this level, We just use this one up. It'll refill before next season as we bring in a new sponsor. But there are no final 2 slots. So with only 4 sponsors available, money is a bit harder to come by at this level, especially when you are a 1-star sponsor appeal team. But high marketability among drivers will boost this a lot. Faith Anthony for sure has to go. We might be able to hang on to Gomez, but I really don't think we can afford Gomez's salary, and I think we could be able to find somebody else who has a higher marketability rating and will race for us much cheaper than Gomez as well. But we'll be taking a look at that here during the off season. I'm going to see you next time as we get started on season number 2 down in the GP3 level with the Decathlon Gamer Racing team. So that does it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer, and remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe and tune in next time on my Road to the Record.